when Marcus Thompson faced 3 years in prison for selling fake Michael Jordan autographs. Judge Patricia Wilkins laughed at his claims of friendship with the basketball legend. "Right," she sneered. "And I suppose Michael Jordan is going to walk through that door to save you." At that exact moment, the courtroom doors swung open. What happened next would become the most talked about moment in Chicago legal history. A confrontation between one of the world's most famous athletes and a judge who had already made up her mind about guilt and innocence. But the real story wasn't about celebrity power or courtroom drama. It was about a friendship that began 21 years earlier behind a high school gym, where a rejected teenager named Michael Jordan sat crying after being cut from his basketball team. The boy who comforted him that day was Marcus Thompson, and their bond would be tested in ways neither could have imagined. This is the true story of loyalty, courage, and the genius response that proved sometimes the greatest victories happen off the court. The cold March wind cut through downtown Chicago like a knife. Snow crunched under the feet of people hurrying up the stone steps of the Cook County Courthouse. Inside, the halls buzzed with the sounds of lawyers talking fast and families waiting for news about their loved ones. In Courtroom 302, Judge Patricia Wilkins sat behind her big wooden desk, looking down at everyone below her. She had been a judge for 15 years and thought she had seen everything. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her eyes were sharp and cold. The table for people accused of crimes. Marcus Thompson sat with his hands shaking. He wore his best suit, but it was old and had small holes in it. Marcus was 35 years old and had been Michael Jordan's best friend since they were kids in North Carolina. Now he was in the worst trouble of his life. The case seemed easy to understand. Marcus owned a small shop on the south side of Chicago where he sold sports items with famous players' names on them. Someone said he was selling fake Michael Jordan signatures. If the court said he was guilty, he could go to jail for 3 years. He would lose his shop and everything he had worked for his whole life. "Mr. Thompson," Judge Wilkins said, her voice sharp like broken glass. "Do you understand what you are being blamed for?" Marcus stood up slowly. His legs felt weak. "Yes, Your Honor. But I want to say that I never sold any fake signatures. Every item in my shop is real." Judge Wilkins rolled her eyes like she had heard this story 100 times before. "Oh, I'm sure. Another friend of a famous person trying to make easy money." She moved papers around on her desk. "Let me guess. You and Michael Jordan were best friends, right? You think that gives you special treatment." The man trying to prove Marcus was guilty was named Robert Hayes. He was thin and wore expensive glasses. He had been trying to make himself famous by going after people who sold fake sports items. Marcus Thompson seemed like an easy person to beat in court. "Your Honor," Hayes said, standing up with a big smile. "Mr. Thompson says he has been friends with Michael Jordan since they were children. He says this friendship proves his signatures are real. But we have proof that shows these signatures are fake." Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. His lawyer was a young woman named Sarah Chun. She had only been a lawyer for 2 years. Marcus couldn't pay for a better lawyer. "Mr. Thompson," Judge Wilkins said, "I've seen many cases just like this one. People say they know famous athletes, then try to make money from fake items. It's sad and wrong." Behind Marcus, his wife Lisa sat wiping tears from her eyes. Their 8-year-old daughter, Keisha, sat beside her mom. Keisha didn't understand why her daddy was in trouble. She kept asking her mom when they could go home. "Daddy didn't do anything wrong," Keisha whispered to her mom. "I know, baby," Lisa whispered back. "We just have to wait and see what happens." Marcus had met Lisa 10 years ago at a coffee shop near his store. She was a nurse at the children's hospital. They got married 3 years later, and Keisha was born 2 years after that. Lisa had always supported Marcus's dream of owning his own business. The sports memorabilia shop had been Marcus's dream since he was a teenager. He loved collecting old baseball cards and learning about sports history. When he finally opened Thompson's Sports Memorabilia in 1987, it was the happiest day of his life. "Mr. Thompson," Judge Wilkins said, "the prosecution has 3 handwriting experts who will say your signatures are fake. They have photos of items that look suspicious. What do you have to say about that?" Marcus looked at his lawyer, Sarah Chun. She nodded for him to speak. "Your Honor, I've been selling sports memorabilia for 11 years. I've never sold anything fake. I know the difference between real and fake signatures. My reputation depends on selling only real items." Your reputation, Judge Wilkins said with a mean laugh, doesn't seem to be worth much right now. What nobody in the courtroom knew was that Michael Jordan was already on his way to help his friend. The Chicago Bulls were in the middle of trying to win their 6th championship. They had practice that morning, but Michael had heard about Marcus's case. He dropped everything to come to court. Michael Jordan was the most famous basketball player in the world in 1998. He had won 5 championships with the Bulls. He made millions of dollars and was on TV commercials all the time. But he never forgot where he came from or who his real friends were. The truth about Marcus Thompson was much more complicated than anyone realized. For years, he had been working secretly with his famous friend on something that would shock everyone in the courtroom. Mr. Thompson, Judge Wilkins said, let me be very clear. Selling fake signatures is a serious crime. You could go to prison. Your family could lose everything. Are you sure you want to keep saying you're innocent? Marcus looked back at his wife and daughter. Keisha was playing with a small toy basketball that Michael had given her for her birthday. Lisa was trying to be brave, but Marcus could see she was scared. Yes, Your Honor, Marcus said firmly. I'm innocent. I've never sold a fake signature in my life. We'll see about that, Judge Wilkins said coldly. Outside the courtroom, people were starting to notice something unusual. A black car with tinted windows had pulled up to the courthouse. Security guards were talking into their radios. Reporters were starting to gather. Inside courtroom 302, Robert Hayes was getting ready to present his case. He had photos, expert reports, and witness statements. He was sure he would win easily. Your Honor, Hayes said, we will prove that Marcus Thompson has been cheating people for years. We will show that he has been selling fake Michael Jordan signatures and making thousands of dollars. Sarah Chin stood up. Your Honor, my client is innocent. The prosecution's case is based on guesswork and jealousy from other dealers. Judge Wilkins looked at her watch. We'll start hearing evidence in 10 minutes. Mr. Hayes, are you ready to begin? Yes, Your Honor. We are ready. But just as Hayes was about to start, the doors at the back of the courtroom began to open. Everyone turned to see who was coming in. The person walking through those doors was about to change everything. Every head in the courtroom turned as the doors swung open. Michael Jordan walked in, still wearing his red Chicago Bulls practice clothes. He had come straight from the United Center, where the team was getting ready for a big playoff game that night. The room fell completely silent. Even Judge Wilkins stopped talking, her mouth hanging open. Michael Jordan was the most famous person in the world in 1998. The Bulls were trying to win their 6th championship. He was on TV every day. Everyone knew his face. And he was walking into a small courtroom to help his friend. Your Honor, Michael said, his voice calm and respectful. I'm sorry I'm late. I came as soon as I heard about this case. Judge Wilkins quickly tried to look normal again. Mr. Jordan, this is very unusual. Are you here to watch the trial? No, ma'am. I'm here to tell the truth about Marcus Thompson. The prosecutor, Robert Hayes, looked confused and scared. This wasn't supposed to happen. He had built his case thinking Michael Jordan would never get involved. Your Honor, Hayes said, standing up quickly. We weren't told Mr. Jordan would be here. We need time to get ready. Judge Wilkins nodded. Mr. Jordan, I'm sure you're a busy man, but we have rules here. You can't just walk in and start talking without warning. Michael stepped forward. I understand, Your Honor, but this case is about my friend's life. I have information that could prove he's innocent. What kind of information? Judge Wilkins asked, raising one eyebrow. Michael reached into his gym bag and pulled out a thick brown leather book. I've kept records of every signature I've ever given Marcus for his shop. Every single one, going back 11 years. People in the courtroom started whispering loudly. Marcus looked shocked. He had never seen the book before. Order, Judge Wilkins shouted, hitting her wooden hammer on the desk. Mr. Jordan, even if such records exist, they would need to be checked by experts first. I have witnesses, Michael said calmly. People who were there when I signed these items. I also have pictures and videos. Sarah Chun, Marcus's lawyer, stood up. Your Honor, I asked for a short break to look at this new information. Judge Wilkins looked angry. This is very strange, Mr. Jordan. You should have given this information to us before today. I tried, Michael said. I called the prosecutor's office 3 times yesterday. No one called me back. Robert Hayes turned red in the face. Your Honor, we never got any calls from Mr. Jordan. That's because you were too busy trying to get your name in the newspaper, Michael said, his voice getting stronger. You didn't care about finding the truth. You just wanted to arrest someone connected to me. Mr. Jordan, Judge Wilkins said loudly, you will show respect in my courtroom. Michael took a deep breath. I'm sorry, Your Honor, but Marcus Thompson is one of the most honest people I know. He's been my friend for 21 years. He's never lied to me, and he's never cheated anyone. To understand what happened next, you need to know how Marcus and Michael became friends. It started in 1977, when both boys were 14 years old in Wilmington, North Carolina. Michael Jordan was already tall and good at sports, but he wasn't a superstar yet. He was actually cut from his high school basketball team that year. Marcus Thompson was shorter and not as good at sports, but he had something special. He could make people feel better when they were sad. The day Michael got cut from the team, he sat alone behind the school gym, crying. Marcus found him there. Hey, Marcus said, sitting down beside him. I heard what happened. That coach is stupid. Michael looked up, his eyes red from crying. Maybe I'm just not good enough. That's not true, Marcus said firmly. I've seen you play. You're amazing. This is just one bad day. From that moment, they became best friends. While Michael practiced basketball every day, Marcus was there cheering him on. When Michael finally made the team the next year, Marcus was in the stands for every game. Marcus had dreams too. He wanted to own a business someday. He collected sports cards and old uniforms, learning everything he could about real signatures and rare items. Michael often joked that Marcus knew more about sports history than anyone he'd ever met. In 1982, when Michael hit the winning shot for North Carolina in the college championship, Marcus was there. When Michael was chosen by the Chicago Bulls. In 1984, Marcus helped him move to Chicago and find an apartment. I'm going to make it big, Michael told Marcus one night in 1985. And when I do, I want you to be part of it. Marcus smiled. I just want to open my own shop. Nothing fancy. Whatever you do, I'll help you, Michael promised. True to his word, when Marcus opened Thompson's Sports Memorabilia in 1987, Michael was his first customer. He bought a signed baseball bat for $50, even though Marcus tried to give it to him for free. You're running a business, Michael said. I pay like everyone else. Over the years, Michael often stopped by the shop. He would sign items for Marcus to sell, always making sure his friend knew which ones were real. Marcus built his reputation on having real items, and Michael's visits helped bring in customers. But success brought problems too. Other shop owners got jealous. They spread mean rumors that Marcus was selling fake items. They said he was using his friendship with Michael to cheat people. Robert Hayes, the prosecutor, had been listening to these rumors for months. He decided to build a case against Marcus, hoping to get his name in the newspaper by arresting someone connected to Michael Jordan. The evidence Hayes collected seemed strong. He had 3 handwriting experts who said the signatures in Marcus's shop were fake. He had photos of items that looked suspicious. Most importantly, he had other dealers who said Marcus was dishonest. What Hayes didn't know was that Michael Jordan had been secretly helping Marcus for years. Every item Michael signed for the shop was written down in a private book that only the 2 friends knew about. Michael kept detailed records of every signature, including the date, place, and people who saw him sign it. Back in the courtroom, Judge Wilkins was ready to continue with the case. She had already made up her mind that Marcus was guilty. Mr. Thompson, she said coldly, I hope you understand how serious this is. Lying about signatures is not a small crime. Marcus nodded. I understand, Your Honor, but I promise you, I have never sold a fake signature in my life. Judge Wilkins laughed meanly. Right, and I suppose Michael Jordan is going to save you. Michael looked directly at the judge. Your Honor, Marcus Thompson has never needed saving. He's never done anything wrong. Mr. Jordan, Judge Wilkins said, friendship doesn't prove innocence. Your friend is accused of selling fake signatures. The evidence against him looks very strong. What evidence? Michael asked. We have handwriting experts who say the signatures are fake, Hayes said confidently. Michael smiled for the first time since entering the courtroom. Did those experts compare the signatures to my real handwriting, or to examples of how I usually sign my name? What's the difference? Judge Wilkins asked. The difference is huge, Michael explained. The way I signed my name in 1987 is different from how I sign it now. Most experts only look at new examples. This was something no one had thought about. Marcus looked at his friend with amazement. Michael had thought of everything. Also, Michael continued, some of the items in Marcus's shop were signed under special circumstances. I signed a basketball with my left hand in 1992 because I hurt my right wrist. I signed a jersey while sitting in a car in 1994, which made my signature look different. These experts wouldn't know about these details. Judge Wilkins was starting to look uncomfortable. Mr. Jordan, even if what you're saying is true, we still need to follow our rules. I understand, Michael said, but I have one question for the court. What's that? Has anyone actually asked me if these signatures are real? The question hung in the air like a challenge. The prosecutor hadn't thought to call Michael Jordan directly. The judge hadn't required it. Everyone had assumed they could figure out if Michael Jordan's signature was real without asking Michael Jordan himself. I'm the only real expert on my own signature, Michael continued. And I'm telling you that every item in Marcus Thompson's shop that has my name was signed by me personally. Judge Wilkins was trapped. She couldn't ignore Michael Jordan's words, but she also didn't want to admit that her court had made a mistake. Mr. Jordan, she said carefully, are you willing to swear under oath that what you're saying is true? Yes, ma'am. I'll swear on anything you want. The courtroom was electric with excitement. Marcus felt hope for the first time in months. But Judge Wilkins wasn't finished yet. She had one more surprise that would test everything Michael had just said. Judge Wilkins reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a thick envelope. Her smile grew mean as she opened it slowly, like she was enjoying a secret. Mr. Jordan, she said, holding up the envelope, since you're so sure about your friend's honesty, I have something special to show you. She pulled out a photograph and held it up for everyone in the courtroom to see. The picture showed Marcus Thompson shaking hands with a man outside his sports shop. The man was wearing a dark coat and sunglasses. This photograph was taken just 2 weeks ago, Judge Wilkins said, her voice getting louder. The man Mr. Thompson is meeting with is Vincent Russo, a known criminal who has been caught making fake sports items and selling them. The courtroom exploded with gasps and shocked voices. Marcus looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. His face turned white. Your Honor, Saracen said, jumping to her feet. We haven't seen this photo before today. The prosecution gave it to me this morning. Judge Wilkins replied with a satisfied look. Mr. Jordan, can you explain why your honest friend was meeting with a known criminal? Michael looked at the photograph very carefully. His jaw got tight as he studied the picture. Something about it bothered him, but he couldn't figure out what. I can't explain it, he said quietly, because I don't know who that man is or why Marcus was talking to him. Marcus jumped up suddenly from his chair. Your Honor, I can explain. Sit down, Mr. Thompson, Judge Wilkins ordered sharply. Mr. Jordan is the one talking right now, but I know who that man is. Marcus said desperately, his voice shaking. I said sit down. Michael looked at his friend with worry in his eyes. Marcus, what is it? Judge Wilkins hit her wooden hammer hard on the desk. Mr. Jordan, do not talk to the defendant. Your Honor, Michael said, his voice getting stronger. If Marcus knows who this man is, shouldn't we let him explain? Mr. Thompson will get his chance to talk, Judge Wilkins said coldly. Right now, I'm asking you about your friend's character. You've told this court that he's completely honest, but here's proof that he's been meeting with known criminals. Michael stared at the photograph. Again, the more he looked at it, the more something seemed wrong. The lighting looked strange. The angle was weird, but he couldn't put his finger on exactly what was bothering him. Your Honor, he said slowly, I've known Marcus for 21 years. If he was meeting with this man, there's a good reason for it. Such as what? I don't know, but I trust him completely. Judge Wilkins laughed in a mean way. Mr. Jordan, trust is not evidence. This photograph shows your friend working with a criminal. How do you explain that? I can't, Michael admitted, looking frustrated. But I don't have to. Marcus can explain it himself. Actually, Judge Wilkins said with a nasty smile, under our court rules, he can't. This photograph was taken by a private detective hired by the prosecution. Mr. Thompson didn't know he was being watched. The news hit the courtroom like a bomb exploding. Marcus had been followed and watched for weeks without knowing it. People in the gallery started talking loudly. Your Honor, Saracen said, standing up again. This is like setting a trap. No, Judge Wilkins replied. This is evidence. Mr. Jordan, knowing about this photograph, do you still say your friend is innocent?" Michael looked at Marcus, who was shaking his head frantically, trying to tell him something without words. Marcus's eyes were filled with tears, but also with something else that looked like he was begging Michael to trust him. "Yes," Michael said firmly, his voice getting louder. "I still believe Marcus is innocent, even though he's been caught meeting with a known criminal." Even then, Judge Wilkins stood up, her voice filled with anger and disbelief. "Mr. Jordan, I think your loyalty to your friend has made you blind to the truth. The evidence is very clear. Marcus Thompson has been selling fake signatures and meeting with criminals to help his business." "That's not true," Marcus shouted, jumping to his feet again. "Mr. Thompson, sit down or I'll put you in jail for disrespecting this court." "Your Honor," Michael said, "please let him speak." "Mr. Jordan, you are not a lawyer, and you are not running this courtroom." Michael took a deep breath and looked around the room. He saw Marcus's wife Lisa crying in the back. He saw little Keisha holding her toy basketball, not understanding why everyone was yelling. He saw the prosecutor Hayes smiling like he had already won. "You're right, Your Honor," Michael said calmly. "I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a basketball player who knows the difference between right and wrong." "And what is that supposed to mean?" "It means that sometimes the truth isn't what it looks like at first. That photograph might show Marcus talking to a criminal, but it doesn't show why he was talking to him." Judge Wilkins sat back down, her eyes getting narrow and mean. "Enlighten us, Mr. Jordan. What possible good reason could your friend have for meeting with a criminal?" Michael looked at Marcus again. His friend's eyes were still filled with tears, but now they also showed gratitude. Marcus was grateful that Michael still believed in him, even when things looked very bad. "I don't know the reason," Michael said, "but I know Marcus Thompson. He's the man who sat with me when I got cut from my high school basketball team. He's the man who drove 8 hours to watch me play in college games. He's the man who helped me move to Chicago and never asked for anything back." "Mr. Jordan," Judge Wilkins interrupted rudely, "friendship stories won't change the evidence we can see." "Maybe not," Michael said, "but they'll help you understand what kind of man Marcus Thompson really is." Michael turned to face the entire courtroom, including the people watching in the back. "Marcus Thompson could have gotten rich selling fake signatures. He's had access to my real signature for 11 years. He could have traced it, copied it, and made thousands of fake items. But he never did." "How do you know that for sure, Judge?" Wilkins asked. "Because I kept track," Michael said, holding up the thick leather book again. "Every real signature I gave him is written down in here. If Marcus had been selling fake ones, the numbers wouldn't match up." Hayes jumped up from his chair. "Your Honor, we can't check those records right now." "Actually," Michael said with a small smile, "you can. I've been paying taxes on every item I signed for Marcus's shop. The government has records of all my donations and gifts. They'll match exactly with this book." The courtroom fell completely silent. Even Judge Wilkins looked surprised and a little worried. "You paid taxes on signatures?" she asked, sounding confused. "Every single one," Michael said. "When I sign an item for Marcus to sell, the government considers it a gift for tax purposes. I've been reporting them and paying taxes on them for years." Hayes looked like he might be sick. "Your Honor, we had no way of knowing about tax records. Maybe you should have done better research before accusing an innocent man," Michael said quietly, but everyone in the room could hear him. Judge Wilkins was clearly getting frustrated and angry. Her case was falling apart piece by piece, and she was running out of ways to attack Marcus and Michael. "Mr. Jordan," she said through tight lips, "tax records still don't explain this photograph. Your friend was meeting with a criminal. How? Do you explain that?" Michael looked at Marcus one more time. His friend gave him a small nod, like he was giving Michael permission to tell a secret. "Your Honor," Michael said, "I think it's time for the whole truth to come out." "What truth?" Michael smiled, and for the first time since walking into the courtroom, he looked completely confident. "The truth about why Marcus Thompson really opened his memorabilia shop. The truth about why he's never sold a fake signature in his life. And the truth about why he was meeting with that criminal." Judge Wilkins leaned forward in her chair, her eyes wide. "I'm listening." "Marcus Thompson wasn't just my friend," Michael said, his voice carrying to every corner of the silent courtroom. "He was my secret business partner." The courtroom exploded, with shocked voices and gasps. People couldn't believe what they had just heard. Judge Wilkins's mouth fell open. Even the court reporter stopped typing for a moment. What Michael said next would change everything anyone thought they knew about this case. The courtroom erupted in noise. People were gasping, talking loudly, and some were even standing up to get a better look. Judge Wilkins banged her wooden hammer over and over again, trying to make everyone quiet. "Order! Order!" she shouted. "Everyone sit down and be quiet." When the room finally got quiet, Judge Wilkins stared at Michael with angry, suspicious eyes. "Business partner?" she asked, her voice sharp like a knife. "Mr. Jordan, what exactly do you mean by that?" "I mean that Marcus and I have been working together for 11 years to catch people who make and sell fake Michael Jordan items," Michael explained calmly. The words hit the courtroom like lightning. Everyone was staring at Michael in complete shock. Even Marcus looked surprised by how directly Michael was explaining everything. "Your Honor," Hayes said, jumping to his feet so fast he almost knocked over his chair. "This is crazy. We have no evidence of any business partnership." "Because it was secret," Michael said. "We couldn't let the criminals know we were working together, or they would have been much more careful." Judge Wilkins looked like she didn't believe a single word. "Mr. Jordan, are you seriously telling this court that you and Mr. Thompson have been running some kind of secret police operation?" "Not a police operation," Michael said. "We've been documenting fake items and reporting them to the right people in law enforcement." Marcus's shop was real and honest, but it also helped us identify fake items being sold around the city. Sarah Chun stood up, her eyes bright with understanding. "Your Honor, this explains why my client was meeting with Vincent Russo. He was investigating him." "Exactly," Michael said, nodding. "Marcus has been working with the Chicago police for months to build a case against Russo and his criminal operation." Hayes looked desperate now, like a drowning man trying to grab onto anything. "Your Honor, we have no evidence of any cooperation with police." "Actually," Michael said, reaching into his gym bag once more, "we do." He pulled out another thick folder filled with papers. "Marcus has been working with Detective Ray Williams of the Chicago Police Department's fraud unit. Detective Williams is waiting outside right now to testify if you need him." Judge Wilkins was clearly struggling to understand what was happening. Her whole case was changing right in front of her eyes. "Mr. Jordan, if this is true, why wasn't this information given to us earlier?" "Because the police investigation wasn't finished yet," Michael explained. "Marcus was supposed to meet with Russo one more time next week to gather the final evidence. But then he was arrested on these fake charges." Marcus finally stood up, his voice shaking with emotion. "Your Honor, may I please speak now?" Judge Wilkins nodded slowly, like she was in a dream. "Yes, Mr. Thompson. Please explain what's really going on." Marcus took a deep breath and looked at his wife and daughter in the back of the room. Lisa was crying, but now they looked like happy tears. "Your Honor, 3 months ago, Detective Williams came to my shop. He told me that police had been tracking fake Michael Jordan items around Chicago. Many of the fake signatures were being compared to real items from my shop." "What do you mean?" Judge Wilkins asked, sounding confused. "The criminals were using my real signatures as models to make fakes," Marcus explained. "They would buy authentic items from my shop, then create copies based on those real signatures." Michael nodded and stepped forward. It was actually a compliment to Marcus's reputation. The criminals knew his items were real, so they used them as examples to make their fakes look better. But this created a big problem, Marcus continued. When handwriting experts compared the fake items to real signatures, they looked similar because the fakes were copied from my authentic items. It made my real signatures look suspicious. The brilliance of what the criminals had been doing was becoming clear to everyone in the courtroom. They had been using Marcus's honest reputation against him. "So you agreed to help the police?" Judge Wilkins asked. "Yes, ma'am," Marcus said. "Detective Williams asked me to find the criminals and document how they worked. Vincent Russo was one of the main people they wanted to catch. The man in the photograph was actually trying to sell you fake items." Judge Wilkins asked, her voice getting softer. "He was trying to," Marcus said, "but I was wearing a hidden microphone and recording everything." Detective Williams has hours of recordings of Russo admitting that he makes and sells fake signatures. Hayes looked like he might faint. His face was white and he was sweating. "Your Honor, we were never told about any police investigation." "Because you never asked the right questions," Michael said firmly. You decided Marcus was guilty and then tried to prove it instead of looking for the truth. Judge Wilkins was quiet for a long moment, staring at the papers on her desk. The whole courtroom was silent, waiting to see what she would say. "Mr. Jordan," she finally said, "if what you're saying is true, why didn't you come forward sooner?" "Because Detective Williams asked me not to," Michael replied. "He thought that if criminals knew I was involved, they might get scared and stop their operations before police could catch them. But when I heard Marcus had been arrested, I couldn't stay quiet anymore," Michael continued, his voice getting emotional. "This case was destroying his reputation and hurting his family. I had to do something." Sarah Chun stepped forward. "Your Honor, I request that Detective Williams be called to testify right now. He can confirm everything my client and Mr. Jordan have said." "Your Honor," Hayes said desperately, "even if there was a police investigation, it doesn't change the fact that our handwriting experts said the signatures were fake." Michael smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "About those experts, did they look at the actual items or just photographs?" "Photographs," Hayes admitted quietly. "And did they know that some of the signatures were made to look different on purpose?" "What do you mean?" "I mean that Marcus and I created special signature variations specifically to catch criminals," Michael explained. "We used different pens, different amounts of pressure, even different angles. If someone copied one of these test signatures, we would know immediately that it was fake." Judge Wilkins leaned forward in her chair. "Are you saying you purposely created signatures that might look suspicious?" "We created signatures that would be impossible to copy perfectly," Michael said. "But to an expert who didn't know the background, they might look fake when they were actually real." The courtroom was completely silent again. Everyone was trying to understand what they had just learned. "Your Honor," Marcus said quietly, "I know this sounds unbelievable, but I have all the documentation. Police reports, recordings from the hidden microphone, even video footage of meetings with criminals. And," Michael added, "I have the tax records showing that Marcus reported every authentic signature to the government. If he had been selling fakes, those numbers wouldn't match." Judge Wilkins looked at the prosecutor. "Mr. Hayes, what do you have to say about all this?" Hayes was clearly defeated. His shoulders were slumped and he looked sick. "Your Honor, we had no knowledge of any police investigation. We based our case on the evidence we could find." "Which was not enough," Judge Wilkins said, her voice getting cold toward the prosecutor. She turned back to Michael. "Mr. Jordan, assuming everything you've said is true, do you have any idea why your friend didn't simply explain this from the beginning?" Michael looked at Marcus, who nodded like he was giving permission to tell the final secret. "Because he was protecting me," Michael said, his voice soft but clear. "Marcus knew that if word got out about our cooperation with police, it might hurt my reputation and my basketball career. He was willing to go to prison rather than drag me into a scandal." Lisa Thompson started crying harder in the back of the courtroom. Her husband had been willing to sacrifice everything to protect his friend. "Your Honor," Sarah Chin said, "I request that all charges against my client be dropped immediately." Judge Wilkins was quiet for what felt like forever. Then she spoke, her voice much different than it had been all day. "Mr. Thompson, please stand up." Marcus stood up, his legs shaking with fear and hope. "Mr. Thompson, it appears that this court owes you a serious apology. The charges against you are dismissed." The courtroom exploded in cheers and clapping. Marcus fell back into his chair, crying with relief. Lisa and Keisha ran forward to hug him, but Judge Wilkins held up her hand. She wasn't finished yet. "However," she said, her voice getting stern again, "I want to address what happened here today, Mr. Jordan." Michael straightened up, ready for whatever came next. "You walked into my courtroom without warning. You interrupted our proceedings. You challenged the authority of this court." Her voice was getting louder. "Do you think being a celebrity gives you the right to disrespect our legal system?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Everyone in the courtroom held their breath, waiting to see what Michael Jordan would say to the judge who had just been proven completely wrong. The courtroom was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Michael Jordan stood straight and tall, looking directly at Judge Wilkins. His face was calm, but his eyes showed he was thinking carefully about what to say. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady and respectful, but also strong. "Your Honor, you asked me if I think being a celebrity gives me special rights. The answer is no. Being famous doesn't make me better than anyone else in this courtroom." He paused, and everyone leaned forward to hear what came next. "But being a human being gives me the right to stand up for my friends when they're being treated unfairly." Judge Wilkins's eyes got angry and her face turned red. "Mr. Jordan, you are very close to being in contempt of this court." "Your Honor," Michael said, his voice getting stronger but still respectful. "With all due respect, I am feeling contempt right now." Gasps filled the courtroom. No one could believe Michael Jordan was directly challenging a judge in her own courtroom. "Not contempt for you personally," Michael continued quickly, "but contempt for what happened here today. Contempt for a system that would send an innocent man to prison without doing proper investigation. Contempt for the idea that justice depends on how much money you have for lawyers." Judge Wilkins stood up, her face burning with anger. "Mr. Jordan, you are completely out of line." "Am I?" Michael asked, his voice getting louder. "Marcus Thompson is one of the most honest people I know. He's been helping police catch criminals for months. He was willing to go to prison rather than embarrass me, and this court was ready to destroy his life based on incomplete evidence. Mr. Jordan, I'm warning you." "Warning me of what?" Michael asked. "That I'll be arrested? That I'll be put in jail?" "Your Honor, I make more money in one basketball game than most people make in a whole year. I can afford the best lawyers in the country. I can handle whatever punishment you want to give me." Judge Wilkins was so angry she was shaking. "Then why don't you just leave? Why do you care so much about this case?" Michael's voice got softer, but somehow it carried even more power. "Because Marcus Thompson doesn't have millions of dollars. He doesn't have famous lawyers. He doesn't have people who will fight for him just because he's on TV. All he has is the truth and one friend who believes in him." The courtroom was completely silent. Even Judge Wilkins seemed stunned by what Michael had said. "Your Honor," Michael continued, "you want to know why I walked into this courtroom without permission? It's because I watched the news this morning and saw that my best friend was being destroyed by lies. I saw his 8-year-old daughter crying because she didn't understand why her daddy was in trouble." Michael pointed to the back of the courtroom, where Keisha was sitting with her mother. "That little girl has spent the last 3 months thinking her father might go to prison. She's been having nightmares. She's been afraid to go to school because other kids tease her." Tears started forming in Michael's eyes, but his voice stayed strong. "I make children all over the world happy by playing basketball, but I couldn't help the one child who mattered most to me. Until today." Judge Wilkins sat back down, looking confused and uncomfortable. She had expected Michael to apologize or back down, but instead he was making her feel bad about her own actions. "Mr. Jordan," she said quietly, "I understand your loyalty to your friend, but we have procedures in this court. We have rules that everyone must follow." "I respect that," Michael said, "but what good are rules if they don't lead to justice? What good are procedures if they destroy innocent people?" He walked closer to the judge's bench, but kept his distance to show respect. "Your Honor, Marcus Thompson came to this court asking for justice. Instead, he found a system that had already decided he was guilty. The prosecutor never called me. The court never investigated the police connection. Nobody asked the most basic questions." Michael turned to face Robert Hayes, the prosecutor. Mr. Hayes built his case on assumptions and jealousy from other business owners. He wanted to make headlines by arresting someone connected to me. He didn't care about the truth. Hayes started to stand up, but Judge Wilkins waved for him to sit down. "And you, Your Honor," Michael said, turning back to the judge, "you decided Marcus was guilty before hearing all the evidence. You mocked him for claiming to be my friend. You treated him like he was lying just because he knew a famous person." Judge Wilkins's face was getting red again, but this time it looked more like embarrassment than anger. "Mr. Jordan, I was doing my job based on the information I had," she said weakly. "No," Michael said firmly. "You were doing your job based on your prejudices. You assumed that anyone who claims to know a celebrity must be lying. You assumed that poor people who get accused of crimes must be guilty." The words hit Judge Wilkins like punches. She knew Michael was right, and everyone in the courtroom could see it. "But here's what you didn't know," Michael continued. "Marcus Thompson never needed to use my fame to help his business. He never asked me for special favors. He never even told people we were friends unless they asked directly." Michael reached into his pocket and pulled out an old, worn photograph. This picture was taken in 1987, The day Marcus opened his shop. Look at it. He handed the photo to Sarah Chun, who showed it to Judge Wilkins. In the picture, a young Michael Jordan was standing next to Marcus in front of the shop. But you could barely see Michael because he was standing in the background. Marcus could have put this picture in his window, Michael said. He could have used it in advertisements. He could have made thousands of dollars by showing people he knew me. But he never did. You know why? Judge Wilkins shook her head. Because Marcus Thompson has something more valuable than money or fame. He has integrity. And integrity means doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Michael walked back toward Marcus, who was crying quietly at his table. For 11 years, Marcus has been my friend without asking for anything in return. When I needed someone to trust with my reputation, I chose him. When police needed someone honest to help catch criminals, they chose him. When his family needed him to stay strong during this trial, he chose to protect me instead of defending himself. Michael stopped and looked directly at Judge Wilkins again. Your Honor, you asked if I think being a celebrity gives me special rights. It doesn't. But being Marcus Thompson's friend gives me the responsibility to speak up when he can't speak for himself. The courtroom was so quiet that the only sound was Keisha's soft crying in the back. Judge Wilkins looked down at her desk for a long moment. When she looked up, her eyes were different. The anger was gone, replaced by something that looked like shame. Mr. Jordan, she said softly, you're right. This court made serious mistakes today. We failed Mr. Thompson, and we failed the idea of justice. She stood up and looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Thompson, I owe you more than an apology. I owe you my respect. You are clearly a man of great character, and I'm sorry I couldn't see that earlier. Marcus stood up, wiping tears from his eyes. Thank you, Your Honor. Judge Wilkins then turned to the prosecutor. Mr. Hayes, I want a full investigation into how this case was built. I want to know why proper research wasn't done. I want to know why Mr. Jordan's calls weren't returned. Hayes nodded nervously. Yes, Your Honor. And I want you to personally apologize to Mr. Thompson and his family. Yes, Your Honor. Finally, Judge Wilkins looked back at Michael. Mr. Jordan, what you did today was highly unusual. You broke several court rules. You challenged my authority. You disrupted our proceedings. Michael nodded. I understand, Your Honor. But, Judge Wilkins continued, you also showed more respect for justice than anyone else in this room. You reminded us why we have courts in the first place. You showed us what real friendship looks like. She paused and smiled for the first time all day. Mr. Jordan, the court thanks you for your testimony. Case dismissed. The courtroom exploded. In cheers and applause, Marcus ran to hug his wife and daughter. Michael was surrounded by reporters and people wanting to shake his hand. But the most important moment came when Marcus and Michael finally embraced as free men. Thank you, Marcus whispered in his friend's ear. That's what friends do, Michael whispered back. However, there was still one more surprise waiting. As everyone was celebrating, Detective Ray Williams walked into the courtroom with a smile on his face. Mr. Thompson, he called out, I have some news about Vincent Russo that you're going to want to hear. Everyone in the courtroom turned to look at Detective Ray Williams as he walked down the center aisle. He was a tall, thin man with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple brown suit and carried a thick folder under his arm. Detective Williams, Judge Wilkins said, looking surprised. Please come forward. The detective walked to the front of the courtroom and nodded respectfully to the judge. Then he turned to Marcus with a big smile. Marcus, my friend, I have incredible news. We arrested Vincent Russo this morning. The courtroom erupted in excited voices. Marcus's mouth fell open in shock. You arrested him? Marcus asked, his voice shaking with disbelief. We sure did, Detective Williams said, opening his folder. Thanks to all the evidence you gathered over the past 3 months, we had enough proof to charge him with criminal fraud, forgery, and running an illegal business. Judge Wilkins leaned forward in her chair. Detective Williams, would you please explain to this court exactly what Mr. Thompson has been doing to help your investigation? Absolutely, Your Honor, the detective said. 3 months ago, we discovered that someone was making and selling fake Michael Jordan memorabilia all over Chicago. The fakes were so good that even some experts couldn't tell the difference. He pulled out several photographs from his folder and showed them to the court. We traced many of these fake items back to Vincent Russo, but we needed more evidence to arrest him. That's when we approached Marcus Thompson. Why did you choose Mr. Thompson? Judge Wilkins asked. Because Russo and his partners were using Marcus's shop as their model, Detective Williams explained. They would buy authentic items from Thompson's sports memorabilia, then use those real signatures to create perfect copies. Michael stepped forward. Detective, can you explain how that worked? Sure, the detective said. Russo would buy a real Michael Jordan basketball from Marcus's shop for, say, $200. Then he would take that ball to his workshop and create 20 fake copies using the real signature as a guide. He could sell each fake ball for $150. Sarah Chun did some quick math in her head. So he would spend $200 and make $3,000. Exactly, Detective Williams said. And because he was copying real signatures, his fakes looked perfect. It was a very smart criminal operation. Judge Wilkins was beginning to understand the whole situation. So the criminals were actually complimenting Mr. Thompson's reputation by using his authentic items? That's right, the detective said. But it also created a big problem for Marcus. When our handwriting experts compared Russo's fakes to authentic Michael Jordan signatures, they sometimes couldn't tell which was which. Hayes, the prosecutor, spoke up nervously. Detective, are you saying that some of the items we thought were fake might actually be real? Detective Williams looked directly at Hayes with a serious expression. Mr. Hayes, I'm saying that your entire case was built on false information. Every single item in Marcus Thompson's shop that you claimed was fake is actually authentic. The words hit the courtroom like a bomb. Hayes turned white and sat down heavily in his chair. How can you be so sure? Judge Wilkins asked. Detective Williams smiled and pulled out a small recording device. Because we have Vincent Russo on tape admitting that he never successfully copied any items from Marcus's shop. He pressed play, and Russo's voice filled the courtroom. That Thompson guy is too smart. I tried to copy some of his stuff, but Jordan signs things differently every time. Sometimes he uses different pens, sometimes he changes the angle. I can never get it exactly right. That's why I stick to copying items from other dealers. The recording continued with Russo laughing and saying, Thompson's items are the real deal. That's why I buy from him when I need a perfect example to work from. Marcus started crying again, but this time they were tears of joy and relief. His reputation was not only cleared, but proven to be the best in the business. Detective Williams, Michael said, what will happen to Russo now? He's been charged with multiple felonies, the detective replied. Thanks to Marcus's undercover work, we have him on tape admitting to forgery, fraud, and conspiracy. He's looking at 10 to 15 years in prison. Judge Wilkins shook her head in amazement. Detective, how long has this investigation been going on? 6 months, Your Honor. But Marcus has been helping us for the last 3 months. He put himself in real danger to help us catch these criminals. Lisa Thompson stood up from the back of the courtroom. Danger? What kind of danger? Detective Williams looked at Marcus, who nodded for him to continue. Mrs. Thompson, your husband was meeting with very dangerous people. Russo and his partners have connections to organized crime. If they had discovered that Marcus was working with police, his life could have been in serious danger. The courtroom fell silent as everyone realized how brave Marcus had been. But Marcus never hesitated. The detective continued. When we asked for his help, he immediately said yes. He said that if criminals were using his reputation to hurt innocent people, he had to do something to stop them. Michael put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. That's the Marcus Thompson I've known for 21 years. Always willing to do the right thing, no matter the cost. Judge Wilkins stood up and looked directly at Hayes. Mr. Hayes, I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. Hayes stood up nervously. Yes, Your Honor. Your office brought charges against a man who was actually working undercover for the police. You tried to send a hero to prison. You failed to do basic research. You ignored phone calls from key witnesses. This is one of the worst prosecutorial failures I have ever seen. Hayes looked like he wanted to disappear. Your Honor, we had no way of knowing. Stop, Judge Wilkins said firmly. You had every way of knowing. You chose not to investigate properly. You chose to build a case based on assumptions instead of facts. She turned to Marcus. Mr. Thompson, on behalf of this court and the city of Chicago, I want to publicly apologize to you and your family. You are a hero who deserves our gratitude, not our suspicion. The courtroom erupted in applause. People were standing and clapping for Marcus. who looked overwhelmed by all the attention. Detective Williams raised his hand to get everyone's attention. "There's one more thing I need to tell you all." The room got quiet again. Because of Marcus's work, we didn't just catch Vincent Russo. We caught his entire organization. 7 people were arrested this morning. We seized over $50,000 worth of fake memorabilia. This was the biggest sports fraud bust in Chicago history. Michael grinned and slapped Marcus on the back. "My friend, the hero." But the best part, Detective Williams continued, is what we found in Russo's workshop. He reached into his folder one more time and pulled out a notebook. Russo kept detailed records of every dealer he thought was selling authentic items. He had a list of people he called the untouchables, dealers whose items were so authentic that he couldn't successfully copy them. The detective opened the notebook and showed it to the courtroom. There are only 3 names on that list. And at the top, with 5 gold stars next to it, is Thompson's sports memorabilia. Marcus started laughing and crying at the same time. Even his enemies had admitted that his items were the most authentic in the city. Judge Wilkins smiled. "Mr. Thompson, it appears that your reputation is not only restored, but enhanced. You are officially recognized as one of the most honest dealers in Chicago." "Your Honor," Sarachin said, "I have one request." "What's that?" "I think Mr. Hayes should personally deliver a written apology to the Thompson family. And I think this court should issue a public statement clearing Mr. Thompson's name." Judge Wilkins nodded. "Granted. Mr. Hayes, you will prepare both documents by the end of this week." Hayes nodded miserably. "Yes, Your Honor." Detective Williams closed his folder and prepared to leave. "Marcus, thank you again for everything you did. The people of Chicago are safer because of your courage." As the detective walked away, Michael turned to his friend. "Marcus, I have to ask you something." "What? Why didn't you tell me what you were doing?" "I could have helped." Marcus smiled. "Because I knew you would have tried to protect me. And I knew that if something went wrong, I didn't want you to get hurt too. You have too much to lose." Michael shook his head. "I don't have anything more important than my friendship with you." Judge Wilkins gathered her papers and prepared to leave the courtroom. But before she left, she had one final thing to say. "Mr. Jordan, Mr. Thompson, what I witnessed here today reminds me why I became a judge. I wanted to see justice served and good people protected. Thank you both for reminding me what really matters." As she walked out of the courtroom, the crowd erupted in one final round of applause. Marcus Thompson was not only free, he was a hero. And Michael Jordan had proven that true friendship is the most powerful force in any courtroom. But the story wasn't quite over yet. There was still one final surprise waiting outside the courthouse. That would make this day even more special for the Thompson family. As Marcus, Lisa, and Keisha walked out of the courthouse together, they were amazed by what they saw. Dozens of reporters were waiting with cameras and microphones. News trucks lined the street. People were holding signs that said "Hero Marcus" and "Justice for Thompson." But that wasn't the biggest surprise. Standing on the courthouse steps, wearing his Chicago Bulls warm-up jacket, was Michael Jordan. He was holding a microphone and speaking to all the reporters. "Ladies and gentlemen," Michael was saying, "I want to tell you about the bravest man I know. His name is Marcus Thompson, and he just walked out of that courthouse as a free man and a hero." Marcus stopped walking, his mouth hanging open in shock. Lisa grabbed his arm, and Keisha pointed excitedly at the TV cameras. "Daddy, you're going to be on TV," Keisha said with a huge smile. Michael continued speaking to the crowd. For the past 3 months, while everyone thought Marcus was a criminal, he was actually risking his life to help police catch real criminals. He was willing to let people think badly of him to protect others. A reporter raised her hand. "Mr. Jordan, why did you get involved in this case?" Michael looked directly at Marcus, who was still standing frozen on the steps. "Because 21 years ago, a 14-year-old boy sat next to me when I was crying behind my school gym. I had just been cut from the basketball team, and I thought my dreams were over. That boy told me I was going to be great someday, and he never stopped believing in me." The crowd of reporters turned to look at Marcus, who was wiping tears from his eyes. "That boy grew up to be Marcus Thompson," Michael continued. "He's been my friend through every success and every failure. When I won my first championship, Marcus was there. When my father died, Marcus was there. When I needed someone I could trust completely, Marcus was there." A different reporter called out, "Mr. Jordan, what do you want people to know about your friend?" Michael smiled. I want them to know that Marcus Thompson represents everything good about friendship and honesty. For 11 years, he could have gotten rich by selling fake items with my signature. Instead, he chose to help catch the people who were cheating innocent fans. He paused and looked at the crowd of people who had gathered to listen. I want them to know that Marcus never asked me for anything, not once in 21 years. He never used our friendship to make money or get special treatment. He just wanted to run an honest business and take care of his family. Lisa started, crying as she listened to Michael talk about her husband. Michael continued, "But most importantly, I want people to understand what happened in that courtroom today. Marcus Thompson was almost sent to prison because our legal system sometimes judges people before hearing all the facts. He was almost destroyed because he didn't have enough money for expensive lawyers." The crowd got very quiet as Michael's voice became more serious. That should never happen in America. Everyone deserves justice, whether they're rich or poor, famous or unknown. Everyone deserves to have someone fight for them when they can't fight for themselves. A reporter asked, "Mr. Jordan, what was it like challenging the judge in court today?" Michael thought for a moment before answering. "It was scary. I've never been so nervous, not even in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. But sometimes you have to. Do what's right, even when it's frightening." He looked directly into the TV cameras. "Judge Wilkins is a good person who made a mistake. She admitted that mistake and apologized. That takes courage. I respect her for that." Another reporter called out, "Will this affect your basketball career?" Michael laughed. "Basketball is just a game. Friendship is real life. I would rather lose every game for the rest of my career than lose a friend like Marcus Thompson." The crowd cheered loudly at those words. Michael held up his hand to get everyone's attention again. "But there's something else I want to announce today." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an official-looking document. "As of today, Marcus Thompson is no longer just my friend. He's officially my business partner." Marcus's eyes went wide with shock. "Michael, what are you doing?" Michael grinned. "I'm starting a new company called Jordan Thompson Authentication Services. We're going to help people identify real sports memorabilia and catch people who sell fake items." The reporters went crazy, shouting questions and taking pictures. "Marcus has proven that he's the most honest dealer in Chicago," Michael continued. "Who better to help protect fans from getting cheated?" He walked over to Marcus and handed him the business document. "This partnership is 50-50. Equal partners, equal profits, equal decisions." Marcus was shaking as he looked at the papers. "Michael, I can't accept this. It's too much." "Yes, you can," Michael said firmly. "You've earned it. For 21 years, you've been loyal and honest. For 3 months, you risked your life to help others. This isn't charity, Marcus. This is business. I need a partner I can trust completely, and that's you." Lisa ran up and hugged both men. "Thank you, Michael. Thank you for saving our family." Keisha tugged on Michael's jacket. "Mr. Jordan, does this mean my daddy isn't in trouble anymore?" Michael knelt down to look Keisha in the eyes. "Your daddy was never really in trouble, sweetheart. Some people just didn't understand how special he is. But now everyone knows the truth." He handed Keisha a new basketball, signed with both his name and her father's name. "This is from both of us. Your daddy and I are going to work together to help lots of people." Keisha hugged the basketball tightly. "My daddy is the best daddy in the world." "Yes, he is," Michael agreed. A reporter asked one final question. "Mr. Jordan, what's the most important lesson from today?" Michael stood up and put his arm around Marcus's shoulders. "The most important lesson is that real friendship means standing up for each other, no matter what it costs. It means believing in someone even when everyone else doubts them. It means doing the right thing even when it's hard." He looked directly into the main TV camera. "Marcus Thompson taught me that lesson when we were 14 years old. Today, I was finally able to return the favor." The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. People were crying and hugging each other. Even some of the reporters were wiping tears from their eyes as the crowd began to break up. Michael pulled Marcus aside for a private moment. "Marcus, I need to tell you something," Michael said quietly. "What?" "When I walked into that courtroom today, I was more scared than I've ever been in my life. Not scared of the judge or the lawyers, but scared that I might not be able to save you." Marcus smiled. "You didn't save me, Michael. You just told the truth. The truth saved me." "No," Michael said, shaking his head. "Your integrity saved you. Your courage saved you. Your willingness to do the right thing saved you. I just made sure people heard about it." They hugged each other tightly, two friends who had been through everything together. "So what happens now?" Marcus asked. Michael grinned. "Now we get back to work. We have a business to run and criminals to catch. But first, I think your family deserves a celebration dinner. How about we go to the fanciest restaurant in Chicago?" "I'd like that," Marcus said. "But can we invite Detective Williams? He's the real hero in all this." "Of course," Michael said. "The more heroes, the better." As they walked toward the car, Keisha skipped between them, holding her new basketball. "Daddy," she said, "when I grow up, I want to be brave like you." Marcus picked up his daughter and spun her around. "Sweetheart, you can be anything you want to be. And no matter what, I'll always believe in you." Michael smiled as he watched his best friend with his family. This had been the most important day of his life, and it had nothing to do with basketball. Sometimes, the greatest victories happen off the court. As they drove away from the courthouse, Marcus Thompson was no longer just a man who had been falsely accused. He was a hero, a business owner, and most importantly, a friend who had been proven worthy of the greatest loyalty anyone could give. The judge had mocked Michael Jordan's friend in court, but his genius response, standing up for truth, justice, and friendship, had left the courtroom in silence and changed everyone's understanding of what really matters in life. The end that we'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and tell us your city or country. It's amazing to connect with viewers from around the world. If this story touched your heart or taught you something valuable, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us share these inspiring stories with more people who need to hear them. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for many more fascinating and uplifting stories like this one. We're always working to bring you real tales of human kindness, justice, and the power of doing the right thing. Most importantly, please share this video with your friends and family. In a world that sometimes feels divided, we all need reminders that friendship, integrity, and standing up for others can make a real difference. Let's spread kindness and awareness together, one story at a time. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next story.